this year, this will not happen on the time change weekend. That's not a mistake I will make again. But everything's a learning experience, isn't it? So let's see. If you're not here, would you raise your hand? See, I know we're a little short. Unfortunately, a couple of guys. I don't know if it was a flu bug or food poisoning or something, but LP. I don't think there was that much drinking going on. LP and Eric both reached me and said they would not be here today. They were not feeling good last night, so they headed home. Fortunately, Dude, 10's not here. That's definitely that. Okay. So what happened? Did something go on after the show last night? Is that karaoke? Oh. Somebody's got to have iPhone footage. If you send it to me, I promise I will post it on BGUlive2013.com. I will put it right at the top. I have no problem with that. So let's get that going. I'm your host, Barry White, today. Just obviously last night there were some scary. I was telling the guys that I heard some sounds come out of my mouth last night that I honestly had never heard a human make. So I really don't know what happened on some of those notes. But anyhow, coffee's on the way. I know that's going to be a plus. My wife's bringing some. And we have donuts over here from, these donuts were actually made by Mark's wife, Janie. She owns a donut shop in Irvine. They're working with us. They are fabulous. They're amazing donuts. I love them. What's that? And he's that thin. Yeah, because if he ever eats another donut in his life, it'll be too soon. That's why. When my dad was in college, he drove an ice cream truck this summer as a job. I never saw the man eat a popsicle. He said he'll never eat another popsicle in his life. So I guess if you want to get skinny, go hang out in a place where it's easy to get fat real quick and eat everything until you can't stand it anymore. So what I wanted to, let me give you just a quick rundown of the day. What I had planned to do today and what we're actually going to do today, I think are going to be a little bit different, only because I've heard of some last minute schedule changes that I didn't expect. Hey, good morning. Surge in the house. Power surge. This form handle, is this form handle changed yet? I'm waiting for a power surge.
No, that would violate the logo.
I think he did that.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, what I was going to do first thing this morning is give you guys a chance to ask questions. I know in the past, usually after you have spent an entire afternoon playing and then you come see the show and see what goes on, I know that you probably have some questions. I really don't know what those questions might be about, but honestly, I just want to give you guys a little time this morning to ask anything that's on your mind about anything that has gone on. And then about 11 o'clock, I was going to start the jam session, but I think I might try and push that up and start about 10:45, or even earlier if there aren't any questions. And because there's a couple of guys, we want to get the Cowboy and Bill get up here. They got a special song to do, and then Mike, are you here? I see him on Kirby.
Yes.
There he is. Okay, yeah. So I know he's got to get going, and Bill's got to get going, and Brendan's got a flight. So I'm gonna shuffle a little bit. Thank you very much, by the way, all of you guys who told me, in that survey, hey, I gotta leave on Sunday, or I gotta what? Man, I can't tell you how much that helped me, and kudos to me for thinking to ask me. But no, really, it was incredibly helpful. So. I'm also going to be, I'll just tell you now, I'm going to create another survey that I'm going to probably send you guys via email in a few days, just asking for your feedback on the event and, any hiccups or anything that you liked, anything that you didn't like. So I will appreciate anything you have to say, positive or negative. The only way I get better is when I hear about stuff that doesn't work. So please don't be afraid to tell me, hey, that part was really lame. at the same time, don't be afraid to tell me that part was really, really cool, because otherwise I'm going to be sad in the corner thinking that my event sucked. So. But let's start with questions. Are there any? Okay, I see we have questions. I'm going to take him first.
Make sure they speak slowly though.
And speak slowly and clearly, because I'm deaf from the coffee has not arrived yet.
So last night you were playing pretty hard and you were bending through, how do you keep your strings in tune for the whole concert? Like I didn't see you tune once.
Yeah, I did actually tune. I tune at the beginning of every set. His question was, how does my guitar stay in tune through all the bending? And you'll notice I don't get real crazy with the whammy bar. I did once a little bit. That's about as much as it goes. No Strat style guitar can withstand big dive bombs and crazy whammy bar stuff. And I'm just not that kind of guy anyway, unless I do have an Ibanez Satriani model that's got the Floyd Rose on it, and I'll pick up the guitar by the Floyd Rose. When I'm playing at Disneyland and I need to do the show, that's a great guitar for that. That's not what this was about last night. So, as far as the bending and stuff, your guitar should stay in tune when you bend. If it's not, there's something wrong. It may be, there's 2 or 3 places where strings can bind. The nut is the biggest one. And the best trick I know of is every time you change the strings, just take a number 2 pencil and color in the grooves with the number 2 pencil. Color in the grooves in the nut, and that powdered graphite acts as a nice dry lubricant right there. I've had guitars where I've bought a graphite nut. I can't tell that works any better. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I just have the regular old bone nut. My Sir is obviously a very well-built guitar. It's well maintained. It just came back from getting a tune-up a week or so ago. So I think it's mostly just a matter of keeping the guitar set up and making sure that everything's working as it should. But I really don't have problems with tuning unless I'm outside gigs. And we'll do a song and I'll stop. I hit the tuner and I just check it really quick and then go on. It doesn't take that long. That's one of the downsides, I'll say, of the little clip-on tuners on the headstock. I think if you're gonna gig and perform and you gotta move quick, you gotta be able to hit that button, kill all the sound, and tune it right there, rather than have to go grab my thing and clip it onto my headstock. And I don't know if I'd even be able to see it, to be honest with you. Yeah.
You said you just got your guitar back from being tuned. How often
Set up, yeah.
Yeah, set up.
How often do I do it?
Yeah.
I generally do it. It ends up being about once a year, but I don't actually do it until I notice that I need it. His question was, how often do I have my guitar set up? Really, I play them enough. My Sir in particular, I play that one all the time. So I notice when it's a little off. I have other guitars that probably don't get in but every 2 to 3 years. They probably should, but I just don't play them that often. And so I don't really notice when they're a little bit off. But like my Sir, last time I did a gig on it, I noticed a couple of notes were fretting out. So it was obvious it was time to take it in. I don't really have any kind of set schedule though. It's really just as I notice things are not as they should be. Yeah?
What strings are you using?
He asked me what strings I use. All of my guitars are strung with Ernie Ball regular slinky.
Regular?
Yeah, just the 10 to 46, I think it is, regular slinky. And surprisingly, I don't even remember all the string gauges of the set. I don't know why. But I thought I saw another hand. Yeah.
So last night when you were playing, a number of times you played in your solos, playing high up on the neck, like doing a pattern that went from the high E string all the way down to the low E string. What sort of pattern?
What sort of pattern is that?
The 32nd note.
Okay, that's a great question. His question is, a lot of times I'm up there and I'm kind of playing the note like on about the 17th or 18th fret, and I'll go all the way from the first string to the 6th string, and I'll go through a pattern, for example. It's pentatonic by and large. There's a video that I have that probably a lot of you guys have seen. I think when I send it out via email, it says, caution, warning, this may cause burning, I think is my subject line. And it's this kind of descending cycle. The pentatonic scale and mastery course has a lot. I talk about this idea too of, if you just play a scale
from top to bottom, it doesn't matter how fast you go. It's not going to last very long. You know, boom, you're done. It's over. So you have to have some sort of pattern where you're going down a little ways and then you go back up a little bit, but not all the way back up to the top, and then down a little bit more and then a little bit back up. Or vice versa, you go up a certain amount and then you come back a little bit, you know, so it ends up being kind of this, I call it a stair step, but it's more like a wave for you guys. It goes this way. And as far as, you nailed it on the head. You said, is that like 30-second notes or whatever? It's not, usually. Usually it is sextuple groups. It's 6 notes in the span of 1 beat. If you look in, solo 4 in BGU, for example, is the slow blues solo. You'll see those groups of 6 notes with the little 6 written over them. That's the sextuplets are really kind of the key time value to get that, I'll say, shredder sound. It's just a doubled triplet. So if you've got triplets, you know, they're going like this, then you double it. So when you get that going on, as you start to speed it up, that's where that really fast sound comes from. But it is in time. It is still in time, and I can assure you that I spent plenty of hours at home going, you know, playing those licks at slow tempos so that they can just kind of fall out. Last night, you know, I didn't play anything new.
Played a lot of my stuff, I noticed.
I did play a lot of
I'm gonna talk to you about that.
Yeah. All you guys have played every single note I played last night. I'm sure, but no, I mean, really, I didn't play anything last night that I haven't played 1,000 times before. You know, you play a lot, and that's what happens.
Last night, since you guys were all using in-ear monitors, I didn't notice your awesome purple amp on stage. So what were you running your pedal board into?
Oh, okay. His question was, since we had the in-ears, I was not running the awesome purple amp of Doom. What was I running? There was actually another. It was that the one in the corner over there, that Nace.
Yeah.
That one was over here.
But it wasn't mic'd.
No, it wasn't. Oh, please. Yeah. Art has this question. His question was, but there was no mic in front of it. Okay. There's a little box over here, right here.
Don't get all techie.
I'm gonna try not to get all techie, but this is a little techie. So the 5-minute, they're all like, you have to give the 5-minute or less answer because they've all had to sit through the real answer to this. It's a box that's by a company called Two Notes, and it is called the Torpedo Live. They have a Torpedo, which is for the studio, and a Torpedo Live. And basically what it does is it has a what's called a load box or a load attenuator in it. So the first thing it does is it takes the speaker output, which is really high powered from the tube amp, and brings it down to a line level. So it soaks it up, turns it into heat, so the amp doesn't blow up. Because the tube amp has to have a speaker plugged in. Everybody knows this, right? This is a huge deal. If you don't plug a speaker into a tube amp and you turn it on, it's gonna blow up. So I just want to make sure you know that, because that's bad. I've done it. It literally, I'm like, oh, what's going on? And all of a sudden I hear, and this little smoke comes out of the top. I mean, it's no joke. So that's the first thing, is you got to bring it down to a line level. But after that, what it does is it actually digitizes that signal and runs it through some proprietary software that they have that uses what are called cabinet impulse responses. Does that mean anything to anyone? Yeah. It's kind of a studio trick where this is basically taking a recording studio with me. And what I like about it is that you can load up a sound and save it. Every gig I play, no matter where we play, no matter what the venue, it doesn't matter what size amp I bring, and it doesn't matter what the miking situation is, my sound is always the same. And really consistency was the big factor with this, because the last time we did a gig where I took an amp and let a sound guy put a mic in front of it, what I heard back coming out of the monitor was very little better than a hornet's nest buzzing around. It was awful. And I had $5,000 worth of gear behind me, and you know, it might as well have been a pig nose. It was awful. So that was pretty much the last time I let that happen. Anything else? Yeah.
Back on sound still, you had your in-ears in, you had the wedge in front of you.
Yeah, the wedge here was the backup.
Oh, so it was the same mix?
Yeah, he was asking, you know, I had my in-ears, but I also had the wedge here. The wedge here really was just in case, you know, if I wanted a little bit. Sometimes you might notice I pulled one ear out. I actually don't usually do that. The only reason that I did last night is because it was just not a little bit not comfortable. And so I would pull that ear out for a while, and then I'd pull that ear out for a while and put that one back in. But since my wife is not here, I can say this, I don't pull the right side out because the horn section will deafen me almost instantly. They don't realize how loud they are when you're right in front of them.
That's on camera.
I know.
How much is the word?
I'm hoping she's never gonna watch that. Yeah.
I don't want to speak for Kelly because he's here to speak for himself, but I asked him about the challenges of mixing with horns. Kelly, you want to answer that, and then I'm not misquoting you?
I think the challenges are that, like a trumpet and trombone are quite loud. They were off. Whatever you heard in the concert was just coming from the horn itself.
Yeah.
But then again, they need to hear themselves, so I'm turning up the monitors and that's filling up the area and going into the mics again. So there are a few challenges.
It is, yeah. I don't know if you guys all heard that, and I'm sure that the camera didn't hear it, but he was asking about, you know, what are the challenges of mixing, you know, from a live sound perspective, you know, what are the challenges of mixing a band with a horn section? Usually, not only am I the guitar player and the singer, but I'm the sounder. I'm usually doing it, you know, when we play small gigs or whatever, I usually do it all myself. And like Kelly was saying, what you heard last night was from the horns. They weren't going through these big speakers. They're very loud. They're just by themselves, you know. Plus, surprisingly, they can't hear themselves when they play because their sound is all going that way, okay? So the wedges up here were coming back to them, right, with their own thing. Well, that sound adds to the sound, you know, that they're already putting out, feeds back a little bit into their microphones. You know what I mean? It does present a real challenge because they are just very loud. And really last night, and pretty much every gig, the only live instruments we have on stage are drums and horns. That's plenty. You know, and one of the reasons that Mark runs direct, I run direct, I mean like that, Mark's amp wasn't on last night. You weren't hearing anything out of there. He was just running direct. That's correct, right? Yeah. Because he only has the amp for our jam session. That's just so you guys can hear it on stage. But to us, we were listening to a CD last night. I mean, it sounds perfect to us.
That's what I wanted to ask about the mix, the wedge and the mix. Can you talk just a little bit about how you mix that? Is it as if you were recording for a CD?
Yeah, he was asking how do I mix it for my ears, and yeah, I mean I mix it exactly as I want to hear it. You know, I hear a little bit of everything, and what's cool is everybody gets to hear exactly what they want. What we do that's a little unusual is this mixer up here is actually, I'll say, the monitor mixer. We have two mixers going on. So all of the mics and everything on stage feeds into here. This board has 6 aux sends. So that means I can handle 6 different monitor mixes. So everybody in the rhythm section has their own ear, so that's 4. And then we got one for the horn section, that's 5. And if we have a female singer, which happens once in a while in different configurations, then that's 6. So I've got all the monitor mixes handled. And then from there, you see all those colored, if you can see those colored cables, it's just an 8-channel hose snake is all. I got 2 of them, and they convert to XLRs, and they pipe into Kelly's snake, and they all go back to Kelly. And so he's got all the front of the house stuff, but he doesn't have to worry about anybody up here. That serves 2 purposes. It's a lot less for him to worry about, and if anybody on stage needs anything, they don't have to get on the mic and say, hey Kelly, can I have, and Kelly's got to go, okay, who's talking when he can't see? You know, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on there, so it's a lot easier for somebody to just, you know, Mark can tap me on the shoulder and point to his bass and tell me that it needs to come up, and I know I just gotta go over and I know which knob it is, and it's just quick and easy.
What are you hearing through your earbuds? Do you hear the whole band or just your own guitar?
I hear everything, yeah. I like to have everything. Those ears are like a 25 dB cut. I mean, when I have those in, you talk to me and I would not know. So I'm not gonna hear any ambient sounds on stage. So I'm only gonna hear what I feed in my ears. This mic right here, by the way, is actually another mic that I feed into my ears. So when you guys cheer at the end of a song, I can hear it. I wanna hear that. But we noticed when we first started using the in-ear monitors, we didn't do that. I didn't know that. And we'd stop a song and it was silent. You know, we see everybody. To us, it's, you know, we hear nothing. That's a little bit unnerving.
So Rick, in the middle of a performance, if we run in front of the mic, two or three of us and scream, you'll hear it.
I'll hear it really well. Yeah.
The reason why it's stopped is we'll all be bleeding.
You all have
that.
Oh, you all hear, oh.
Yeah.
So is everybody listening to that, or do you have a choice? Can I get
Everybody has a choice. Everybody has a choice of exactly what they want in this configuration.
So you're actually just playing your CD then? You're playing to the band?
Yeah, it's. I mean, you know, you can see we've got, you know, kick, snare, toms. I mean, everything's mic'd up just right. I'm not doing it right now, but I can run some compression. I can run some EQ if I want. I can do, you know, all those kinds of things. Put a little reverb in there. I mean, I really can make it sound, you know, very lush. To me, it really, really does sound like a CD.
I've seen some videos of where, speaking of the horns, where the sax is playing into a mic, that just behind the mic, they have a round plexiglass sheet.
Yeah.
The purpose of that.
Yeah, he's talking about, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, sometimes horns, they put a round plexiglass shield right on the other side of the mic. So it's the bell of the horn, and then the mic, and then a plexiglass shield. That's a great way to keep the horns from, you know, blaring into the audience, and it really, really does help. And yeah, you get a little bounce back. It's probably something that that I should do with them, but it requires that. I don't know if you noticed, they have clip-on microphones, and they do that so they can move. Well, I can't have a shield that's going to follow them around. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I mean, I think it's a good thing that they like to put on a show and they like to do stuff like that. I think that visual element, you know, it's a big part of having a horn section. So I haven't figured out the best way to handle that. But, you know, if we're playing at a big outdoor event, it's not an issue. And in here, it's really not an issue. It just means we just pull their faders down and don't tell them.
Put it in a plexiglass.
Yeah, put them in a booth right there. There's our horn section. Hi, wave to them.
So if the horns are live, what are the microphones for that are on the horns?
They're there so that they can hear the hair back in the wedges.
And so,
And for solos, yeah, like when the very solo take goes, you know, Kelly will go ahead and pump it up then so that they don't have to do it all by themselves.
And for us.
Lynn?
Is your mixer programmable so you save settings for like recurring gigs and all that?
Mine's not. This one's old school analog. All of my gear right now is old school. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, obviously that Torpedo Live is pretty not old school. I've been really hesitant to go into the digital mixer. Kelly has the PreSonus back there, and he really, really likes it. And he's done a bunch of gigs on it, and it hasn't failed. And I've pretty much been waiting for Kelly to tell me I've done a bunch of gigs on it, and it hasn't failed. So now that he's told me that he's done a bunch of gigs on it, and it hasn't failed, I would probably go that way, because to not have to carry around, you know, I have all these outboard compressors and reverbs and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's one thing to be able to push a button and go, oh, I'm playing here. I played here before. Click. I mean, come on, that's awesome, but to not have to carry around additional racks full of compressors and outboard gear and all that kind of stuff, and to just, and then you have to patch it all in, you know, on the gig. I mean, that would save me, that'd probably cut my setup time in half. That's worth it, and my stress level, you know, by 80%, yeah. Bob, yeah.
A question, on Friday, Arnie was teaching us this descending E thing going from the high strings down to low strings.
Okay.
And that's a technique that I'm playing a solo and I'm on box one up, say an E. So I'm up on the 12th fret and I want to get down to the low end without just jumping there.
Right.
And you do that all the time. You're going up and down, and you make it sound really cool.
Mhm.
Can you either explain how you do that, or maybe put a lesson online?
Check out in your who's ever watched the Blues Guitar Unleashed bonus material? You guys have all watched it? Some of you watched it. That's where you want to look.
Okay.
There's on the bonus DVD. There's something called the 3+2 trick, and it's basically a way of laying out those box patterns that they work diagonally across the fretboard. That's the idea behind it. And then when you take that and you combine it with the idea of doing down a few, then back up a little bit, and down a few, then back up a little bit. When you take those two ideas and put them together, you have exactly what I did.
Okay.
And you know, take a look at that. Take a look at that lesson first.
That's the bonus.
And it's on the bonus DVD, and I think it's called the 3+2 trick or the 3+2 pattern. I forget exactly what I called it. But watch that first and mess around with it a little bit, and then if it still doesn't make sense, get in touch with me and I can give you some ideas. Anything else?
One last thing, as a singer, what do you do, like today, obviously? Do you have any special things that you do to
Water.
try to get back? Just
Yeah. Really, it's just water. He was just asking me, you know, what do you do when your voice sounds like this? Drink water. Whiskey. You know,
Blues voice.
I know it was probably funny that I was drinking whiskey last night, you know, saying, oh, it's good for my voice, but it's not long term. It's absolutely not, and I know that. However, when a job has to get done, sometimes you do what will get you through the short term, and things like whiskey and Jägermeister happen to fit the bill.
Those Mark doesn't say a lot.
But yeah, long term, obviously that's not a
You
solution.
didn't see his
but
face when he was drinking either,
yeah,
so. It was funny.
you know, that truly was for medicinal purposes. You know, I don't drink whiskey. I don't like it. You know, that truly was serving a purpose.
But it helps get rid of the phlegm, it helps get the...
It does. It just kind of
It's
you
like
know, burn.
some water beforehand because you clean...
Right. It just kind of clears it out. It numbs it a little bit to be, you know, again, I know long term, bad idea to numb it, but short term, it's going to keep me from coughing in the middle of a line.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Hang on a second, Tim. Let me take Pete's.
Piggybacking on, do you ever use stuff like vocal ease or anything like that, any of that spray?
I really don't. He was asking me if I use like vocal ease or any of those kinds of things. I really don't. In all seriousness, in all the years I've been doing this, and I'll tell you a story. You know, Mark will back me up on this. I was horrible when I started singing. I was really, really bad. I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. The only reason I started singing was because we couldn't find a singer. And I finally just got so fed up trying to find one that I just said I would do it. And I just started taking voice lessons from a local teacher. And, you know, and I was awful, but I just kept going to different vocal coaches, you know, and meeting guys that were in the area. And after a while, you find out, wow, 6 other singers in the area all go to this one guy. That's the guy you want to go to, because I'll tell you what, when I found that guy and I went to him, I learned more in a month from him than in 5-6 years from everybody else combined. You know, if you find a vocal teacher who really knows what they're doing, it's worth gold. It really, really is. And you know, they're going to charge 3 times as much as everybody else, and it's going to be worth every penny. You know, this guy charges like $70 for a half an hour. You know, and it's worth every penny. And you know, fortunately, I was able to go. I would go see him every couple of weeks, and I did that for several months. And so now I have technique and I have training that I can lean on when nights like last night come along. And I'll be perfectly honest, I've sang through a lot of really bad situations. The sounds that came out of me last night, I never heard before. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know, you know, I've never had some of those things go on that went on last night. And hopefully it was not too distracting from what was going on, but it was definitely, that was not a normal night. That was much worse than I've been through in a long time. Yeah, Tim.
This may be an unfair question or even statement, but I've done this up to Santa Barbara Blues Society, and they bring, that's one of the oldest blues society in the country, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
And they bring a lot of acts in, and a lot of people come around from different parts of the country and everything. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm sure there's probably 50 guys in here that are giving your band a 10 because I'm giving you a 10. And it doesn't seem that a lot of that, I mean, how do you rate your band compared to other bands around the country like
He said, how do we rate our band compared to other bands? We're way better. No, you know, that brings up a very interesting question and a very interesting point. And I'm not gonna. I'll just take a minute on it because we're getting close to our allotted time here. But we make this joke. We call them the Blues Nazis. A lot of guys in the Blues Society. It's kind of a good old boys network. You know, it might surprise you to hear that we actually have a really hard time getting gigs. And I happen to think we're way better. I mean, we go and see bands all the time, and you know, it's 4 guys who met last week, and they're and it's dollars. You know, what we do is a different thing. You know, I suspect, you know, a lot of bands over the years that are blues bands are not, you know, they're not that traditional blues band. And there's a lot of people that are very rigid in what their definition of what the blues is. My definition is probably very different. To me, blues is more of a spirit of playing and of making music than it is a specific form or a specific sound. So I think you can have blues. You know, you can have crazy, heavy, distorted guitars, but if it's improvisational and if it kind of loosely follows a form that repeats, I think you could still call it blues, even though you might not call it bluesy. You know what I mean? I think there's a difference there. So we're obviously not a traditional blues band, but I happen to think we're a lot more fun. You know, I think there comes a point when, you know, and maybe this is because in all seriousness, almost all of us have played at Disneyland at some point, or still do on occasion. And so yeah, you know, we have all these other influences. It's like what I was saying in some of the small group lessons. You can play Stevie Ray Vaughan note for note, day after day after day after day after day, and still not sound like him. Because you don't have his roadmap. You know, you don't listen to exactly the same stuff he listened to. And you didn't go through exactly the same stuff that he went through. And whether you like it or not, you know, those things that you do and those other influences that come in really, you know, they shape the final product, for better or for worse. Yeah.
I'm just curious, and you don't have to answer this if you think it's something that's protected. Chuck wants the Griff Hamlin band to come play in my place tonight for 2 hours. What's that going to set me back?
His question was if he was to hire us to come play. Well, yeah, a lot of that. There's not one specific answer to that question.
Yeah.
Usually it boils down to, you know, what's the event, what time is it, what day of the week is it on, how far away is it, is there sound provided, am I bringing sound, you know.
Where do you start listening when people are talking?
When do I start listening? More, yeah. You know, the other side of this equation is that playing music is the fun part for us.
Right.
So we're cheap. You know, I'll show you. If we can all get $100, we're like, woohoo, let's go. You know, but this is what we love. You know, this is what we love to do, and so we're not making. This is not our bread and butter. If it were, we would be doing things very differently.
Right.
That being said, I think there's a lot of bands that will show up for $100 a guy. You know, that's not uncommon. I mean, Lynn and I were having this conversation just the other day. You know, when he's doing the Blues Brothers show, you know, they're getting about $1.50, you know, $150 a man, you know, for a show. I think that's pretty standard pretty much anywhere you go. The drag is that it was also standard in 1985.
Right.
You know, and
that's why I was asking.
Things have changed a lot.
Make a living is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Something that's gone on in Los Angeles, just down the road, is that a lot of the venues have changed to where they actually charge bands to come in. They say, here's your tickets, you go sell them.
Yeah.
And there are enough people who want to participate in that it's really put a cap on wages.
I think yeah, it's you know, it's supply and demand, it's capitalism. The supply of bands is huge. You know, there's tons and tons and tons out there.
It'd be easier for me. I see myself entertaining senior centers and stuff like that.
Well, and you know, you're gonna laugh, but Laura used to play in a band. I don't think they're doing it right now, but a bunch of Disney guys and girls, they get together and they have this big 17-piece, I think it's 17-piece horn band. You played with Greg Glover's band? You remember you said one? And yeah, what they would do is once a month they would meet at basically a rest home out in like Orange somewhere and just play like these old big band tracks and stuff. So they got a free place to rehearse, and you know, 2 or 3 old ladies on wheelchairs would come in every time and just, oh, they're so nice, you know, and they're so good. You know, and they didn't make any money, but they got to play and have some fun, and you know, everybody won. So, you know, the reality is that anymore, you know, I think it's like anything else. The gap between most people, you know, it's sort of competition personified. You know, if there wasn't many bands and a lot of people wanted to have bands, the bands would be able to charge more. There's a ton of bands and not many people want them anymore. There's a lot less music clubs than there used to be, and people don't go to the ones that are open. So, you know, it's pretty much the case that they kept cutting their fees and they kept cutting their fees, and finally they cut them to the point where they said, I'll pay you to play. I think that's kind of stupid, I'll be perfectly honest. I don't, you know.
I think that's crazy.
If you can always play for free. There's always places to play for free. We do it all the time.
And I think eventually the club owners will understand. It's going to take a lot longer than it should, but they're getting what they're paying for.
Yeah.
Well, you know, everything's changed too. I find people rather go and sit there and watch a big screen TV anymore than hear some good music.
It's true. It's true. You know, and what he said is that people would rather go, you know, watch the big screen TV and watch the Lakers play than watch the band. And that's true.
Hey, Griff. Kelly back here. I was going to chime in and say that the concerts in the parks have been a great place for bands. All these cities that are doing, and they pay, and people love the music, and I know you guys do them. I do a lot. That's a great place. Now, skip the clubs, go to the concerts in the parks at the cities.
Yeah.
And that's been a great.
That has been. That has been.
They
You get a park full of people watching, somebody's gonna like your band and want you to come play it.
Yeah.
And they're probably good.
Yeah.
And they're very late, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. That's the best part. You know, and I'll tell you what, you know, for a family man, you know, to be able to go to a gig and have all my boys come, you know, and carry mic stands or, you know, sit at the t-shirt table and, you know, I'm not going on tour anymore. I'm so happy when we're going to go play at the City of Tustin's, you know, outdoor thing. We're going to play from, you know, 5 to 8, and it's going to be sunshining. We're there in t-shirts and shorts and baseball caps, and our kids are running around on, you know, Griffith's on the playground, and Ryan's selling t-shirts, and Kyle's eating a snow cone, and, you know, that's great. You know, I'm thrilled. And we all walk home with $100, and it pays for the gas in that truck anymore, you know, but I think it's for us, it's a very different thing. We think it's good for our kids to see us do this, you know, obviously. So we I think probably more than many people in our region, we have a kind of a sense of community. We like to do stuff in Corona for people in Corona. You know, we kind of have that mentality. And Villa Park too.
What a lot of people don't realize is that, like last night, that's what you look for. They don't see you playing RV parks. They don't see you with the stage that's this big trying to fit in.
Yeah.
You know, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's, you know, this works out. You know, we're also very lucky because of what has happened with Blues Guitar Unleashed. You know, we have this conversation often. How do we put these two worlds together? You know, and so far this has been the one place and the one time when we've been able to do that successfully. So we are always thinking about how we can do more of that, you know, and take it on the road, the cruise, or take it on the, you know, somehow make it a traveling circus instead of just right here. But yeah, so let's. Who's ready to play a little bit? Who's ready to play? I'm not singing. I'm singing everything. So we're gonna have Cowboy and Bill, and is there somebody else, or is it just you two? Do you need a band?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they need a band.
Yeah, Charles.
Yeah, Charles.
When I get here, we'll let you know.
Oh. All right. Clearly there was a meeting about this that I was not invited to.
I said, do you know it? He said, no. They said, okay.
There you go.
Meeting adjourned.
Oh, sorry, I haven't turned them on yet, have I? Let me see, let's get some settings going here. Yeah, that's the